What exactly does service mapping do differently from discovery?
Sure. Discovery finds CIs like server databases applications and populate that in CMDB. Whereas service mapping build a top-down map of business services, starting from the known entry points like URL load balancers and tracking how backend components support them. We can also say that discovery answers what exists, whereas in case of service mapping answers how does all this work together to deliver a service.
Why is selecting the correct entry point critical in service mapping?
Sure, because service mapping is top down. It starts with an entry point like URL, IP, or load balancer. If your entry point is too deep, okay, like a mid-tier node, you may miss the front-end layer. On the other hand, if it is too vague, mapping may become inaccurate. So a good entry point must be stable, represent the real access, and lead to discovering dependent components correctly. Next.
Okay.
What are some common reasons why a service map fails to complete?
There may be many reasons like wrong or unreachable entry point, incorrect or missing credentials. It can also be a mid server which is having no visibility. You can say incomplete or faulty pattern can also do that. Along with that, if discovery prerequisites are not met, in that case also we have this issue. Okay, so check the mapping status, look at the pattern log, and test each hope manually using the discovery.
How does service mapping use patterns?
Patterns are reusable sequences of steps that detect and identify applications or infrastructure components during service mapping, or you can say mapping. Each pattern include identification, connection, and optionally classification logic. Okay, so you can use out-of-box patterns, extend them, or build custom patterns. Okay, that's totally depends on you. Then run on a specific device and attempt to find deeper components. So we can say in this way, service mapping is using patterns.
What's the role of the mid server in service mapping?
The mid server execute pattern steps remotely, perform discovery probes, and collect responses, and help building the map. Okay, it needs to be located in the same network as the device you are mapping. Okay, if it is misconfigured or isolated by firewall rules, your mapping may fail or will fail definitely.
When should you use traffic-based mapping, and what are its limitations?
So traffic-based mapping captures actual TCP UDP connections between CIs by analyzing log or packet data. It is helpful when pattern-based mapping is not possible. Okay. However, it is a prone to a false positive as well, especially with ephemeral connections, and should be validated manually so that we are 100% sure that it is not a false positive.
How does dynamic CI group help with mapping modern architectures like microservices?
Okay. In Dynamics containerized environments, CIs can scale up or scale down rapidly. Okay. So dynamic CI groups use filter criteria like tags or class types to group these CIs. You can then apply patterns to these groups, ensuring the maps stay updated even when the component changes dynamically. So in this way, we can say that the dynamic CI groups are helping in service mapping.
Can service mapping discover cloud-based services?
Yes, sure. For that, you need cloud discovery integration enabled, API level access or mid server within the VPC or subnet. Okay. Along with that, custom patterns if components are proprietary. Okay. Like service mapping can discover services like AWS ELB, Azure App Services, or GCP VMs, but might need hybrid techniques.
What is the use of reconciliation rules in service mapping?
Sure. Reconciliation rules decide how data from different sources like discovery, service mapping, or integration merge into CMDB. Without proper rules, service mapping might create duplicate CIs or override trusted data. Okay. So you have to always align reconciliation rules with the business logic to ensure CMDB accuracy and authentic data within CMDB.
How do you handle mapping a service with multiple load balancers?
Okay. So you treat each load balancer as a potential entry point. Use DNS resolution to capture upstream and downstream components. Okay. If services are geo-distributed, you might need multiple service maps and then unify them using service composition or unified topology view.
How do you validate if a custom pattern is working as intended?
So we have to use the pattern designer in discovery, run the pattern in testing mode on a specific CI. Okay. Use the debug tools to inspect step-by-step execution of the pattern, looking for any missing identifier. Okay. Test connection logic and adjust. You have to do all these steps to make sure that your pattern is working properly. Okay. Do not push the pattern to production without proper staging and testing.
Why do some NAPs show missing or disconnected CIs?
It is usually because the pattern failed to identify the downstream CIs or the connection section was skipped. Okay. It also happened when the traffic based connections are not accepted or captured. Okay. CI data is stale or deleted from the CMDB. So all these things will show that the CI is missing or disconnected. Okay. So you have to fix it and then you have to run the discovery again.
Can service mapping handle multi-tier applications?
Yes, it is actually its core strength. For example, a three-tier application, okay, web app or database can be discovered by a pattern that tracks network hops and ports. For example, HTTP to Tomcat to MySQL. So each tier is discovered and linked and forming a complete topology of service dependency. So we can do multi-tier application discovery as well. Yes, you are right.
How does predictive intelligence help in service mapping?
So predictive intelligence help suggest likely downstream CIs and connections by analyzing historical mapping data. You can manually accept or reject these suggestions. Okay, you have this option. And this particular service is especially useful when some pattern fails, but the system still see potential relationship based on the past mapping. So in this way, we can use predictive intelligence.
How does change tracking work in service mapping?
Okay, so once a service is mapped, any future discovery will track changes in the CI relationships, structure, and attributes. Okay, you can use this data to audit unauthorized changes, detect any drift, or trigger alerts when the topology changes unexpectedly.
Is it possible to map a service manually?
Yes, it is possible. You can create a service, add an entry point and CI manually, and define the relationship between them. Okay. However, this particular method is error prone and it is not fully scalable. So therefore, it is best reserved for special cases or in some kind of proof of concept services. Okay. Otherwise, you have to use the automated one and you have to, create schedules and all and do automated discovery or service mapping.
How can you use tags in service mapping?
Okay. So tag helps group similar CIs or identify components that are a part of a service. For example, environment equal to prod. Okay. You can tag CIs and then create a dynamic CI group or filter for mapping or visualization. It is very much useful in cloud and containerized setup. Okay.
What are some mistakes to avoid during service mapping implementations?
Okay. So there are a few things which I can say here, like using unstable or temporary endpoints. This should be avoided. Okay. Not validating the pattern execution. Very important. Many times we are not aligning with CMDB health model. Okay. We have to integrate with CMDB health model. Ignoring firewall or probe issues. This is also lead to failure of discovery or service mapping. Then last point is not coordinating with discovery team. Yes, service mapping is important, but coordination with discovery team is very important here because ultimately we are using the discovered horizontal things, horizontal infrastructure, and then using on top of that this discovery. This is service mapping. So that's why these are the points which, if we do not follow, may lead to failed service mapping.
What are the differences between top-down, tag-based, and traffic-based mapping methods.
Okay, so top-down mapping starts from a service entry point like URL or VIP and traces the connection through each tier. Okay, most accurate but require thorough patterns and credentials. Whereas tag-based mapping uses cloud resource tags to discover group CIs, okay, without deep connectivity. It is comparatively quick but lack detailed relationships. And finally, the traffic-based mapping analyzes the actual network traffic to infer CI relationships. It is helpful for dynamic or opaque environments, though it risks false positive and require post-validation. So we have to use any one of it based on the situation, based on the current scenario.